On today's video, we're going to be talking about how to generate 100 leads every single month without spending a dime. Hey guys, it's Kevin Scoggin. I want to welcome you to this video and thank you so much for checking it out. I am thrilled for you guys to meet today's guest and hear the topic that he's going to be teaching on, which is how to generate 100 leads every single month without spending a dime. I think there's this misconception in real estate that in order to be really successful, you have to spend thousands and thousands of dollars every month on internet leads. And what Chris is going to share with us today is that that is simply not true. So he's going to be sharing a blueprint to a 6 and 7 figure income. I know it's true. And it's simple, it's powerful, and it doesn't cost you anything. So I know this is a longer interview, but it is pure gold. So I want to challenge you guys to get somewhere where you can take notes. So without further delay, let's jump into the conversation. Chris, man, thank you so much for taking time out of your day to hang out with us here for a little bit.
Absolutely, Kevin. Fun to bat these topics around and figure out how to do this together. So thanks for having me.
Yeah, for sure. Before I want to have you kind of give like a 2-minute bio in just a second, but to our listeners and viewers, I just want to say, so Chris is not only my preferred lender, personal mortgage, family mortgage. If I can ever send a client his way, I think he and his team do truthfully the best job communicating and just executing. But he's been a friend and mentor. So you were the first lender who asked me to coffee when I got my my license 4.5 years ago, and just really appreciate your influence in my life and business. And so I'm really excited for our audience today just to get to learn from you. So with that being said, why don't you take just a minute or so and tell us a little bit about who you are and kind of your experience in the business. And
yeah, absolutely. Well, man, I really do mean it when I say it is fun to do this together. And the thing that I've learned over the last number of years is that business is so much more fun when you're doing it with like-minded people. And when you can encourage each other, provide each other tools to help each other grow their individual business. And so I think that's been fun. I think one of the fun things we do is get together and just bat off of each other things that we're doing that help us just change the rudder just a little bit to keep the ship going where we want it, right? So absolutely, man, fun to do it. And Chris Doak, live in Norman, Oklahoma. I've been in the mortgage industry going on 14 years. It feels like 40 sometimes, and it feels like 4 sometimes. So, man, what a ride. It has been, it's been an incredible experience. People don't grow up wanting to be mortgage lenders, okay? They just don't. And so you happen into this industry. Typically, I had someone who believed in me early on and just said, hey, you'd be great at bringing value to realtors. And so you ought to come try this out. And I was like, okay, well, let's try it. And was single, and my overhead was about $1,500 a month, and that's about it. So he gave me a couple $1,000 for a few months, and we figured it out together. But man, what a ride. I think my first 5 years, Kevin, were just figuring out, how do I do a mortgage? How do I originate a mortgage? How do I make sure that my client's moving truck isn't in the title company's driveway stalled because of something I've done? That's what I feel like I did for the first 5 years. And,
right.
And man, it's been fun over the last number of years to figure out how to really build a business, right? Like that's what I feel like has been the last 9 years or so. Have married to Megan for more than 17 years at this point, going on 18. 5 daughters. My oldest just turned 15, which is super sad and fun and all those feelings. My youngest is 5, so we're in the middle of it all, man. We're done with diaper seats and I mean diapers and car seats, which that's a big thing, man. As you know, I'm like, man, I'm sick of Cheetos underneath the car seat. Just like, please clean her car a little bit. So Man, we're in the middle of that though. And so the fun part of trying to figure this business thing out is about 5 years ago, really saying, hey, I want to figure out how it can be the best in this market at originating loans, yet have a balanced life. How do I have a life where I can turn it off and go be the father, the husband, the friend that I need to be and want to be, yet have a great business that's reproducible, that one we can duplicate year after year. So that's kind of the journey we've been talking about for a little while, right?
I love it. Yeah. Yeah. Thanks for sharing all that. And I want to, so oh my gosh, I'm just really excited for us to dive into this topic because, can I ask you for a minute to brag on yourself if you're willing to? Can you tell us how many home loans you sold in 2021?
Yeah, 2021, we helped 329 families either get into houses or make their situation better by refinancing.
Okay, awesome. So I asked that because I want our audience to understand that you are an absolute authority. And I think there's such an interesting perception. And I think it's true on the real estate side of things. And I think it's true on the lending side, where the perception is, in order to be successful, I have to spend thousands and thousands of dollars a month on Zillow, Realtor, whatever lead vendor.
Right.
And I think if there's one thing that you've taught me as a friend and mentor and have lived, is that simply doesn't have to be true.
No.
And so I know that one of the things you talk about is how to generate 100 leads a month without paying for them. And so I'd love for you to dive into that. And again, I want our audience to pay attention to the fact that Chris is married, 5 daughters. And let me tell you, I know that they do a lot of activities, dance, soccer, all the things. And Chris has built his business in a way that he's able to be present to those things. And so, Chris, I'd love for you to just to kind of run with kind of off of that platform of how does an agent succeed without spending $10,000 a month on Zillow or $15,000 a month?
Yeah, I mean, this is a passionate topic for me, Kevin, because I think sometimes the way we start out in business, we don't evolve and grow into the business we want to build. You know, so when we get going, we literally, if you've got a heartbeat, you're a potential client, right? So realtor or lender aside, it's like, oh my gosh, I've got a lead, and so we'll do anything. We'll work as many hours. We'll you know, the shiniest object, the new shiny object, we'll grasp onto it and we'll follow it. But at the end of the day, the thing that I feel like I've been taught more than anything over the last number of years, and I've had some amazing mentors that have taught me this, and I feel like that's kind of what I've passed on to you, is that you can have a reproducible book of business based upon referrals from referral sources, which include from a lending perspective, realtors, past clients, influential people in the community, current clients. And for realtors, it's past clients, influential people in the communities, sphere of influence, which goes into that a little bit, current clients. And we can build an experience for people that is top notch, to where they will in turn want to give us away, and want to give us away with passion. And we can build a business on that. And it takes time and it takes effort. And I actually think it's the harder way to build it, but it's the way we build it on rock and not sand. It's the way we control our own destiny from the perspective of it's us generating the leads through experience that we provide for our clients. And in my mind, that's the rock. The rock is, I generate the lead. Someone else isn't giving me that lead, and I'm actually like paying them $5,000 a month for it. And guess what? It only converts at 3%.
Right.
I want to build a business where I build an experience such that people give me the ability to take care of them, because I bring them so much value, that I am their person of choice. And I'm not even paying for that. I'm just investing in that experience for them. Right. And I think we miss it. I think so many folks miss it, that we think the faster, shinier object is the way to go. And I think it's the harder way to build it. But I think, Kevin, you and I have talked about, man, it is if you can build it in a way that you can generate 100 warm leads a month that convert at 30 to 40%, how much more profitable our business will be over time.
Right.
And the gold that produces.
Mm-hmm. No, I think it's so good. So I'd love for you to kind of jump in, for if I'm a new agent listening to this, I'm like thinking, how the heck do I generate 100 warm leads a month? Is it even possible?
Mm-hmm.
So I'd love for you to even kind of walk through some baby steps, and again, emphasizing that you can succeed at a high level in this industry without buying leads. That's what I want to like shout from the rooftop. And so I want to challenge the audience to take some notes, because Chris is about to get tactical in getting the weeds here for how to do this. So
so I think it starts with consistent activity to groups of people that can refer us business. Okay, so I'm going to break that down some. Who are the groups of people? What's the consistent activity? Okay, but I think it literally starts with those simple things. And I'm going to say this, I think the things I'm going to share are going to feel overly simplistic, to the point where people are like, too simplistic, too easy. I need something more complicated, more expensive, more. And I think back to my friend Phil, who's a friend of yours and an acquaintance of yours, who Phil's a great realtor friend in North Carolina that implemented these things 6-7 years ago. He was hitting 11 million a year for 4, 5, 6 years in a row, couldn't get over the hump, and started implementing these things. And last year, I think Phil did over 100 million in a not in a crazy market in North Carolina, and he spent $0 on leads.
Insane. I love it.
So $1 million earner, incredible. So I'm going to be simplistic, but this is where the gold is. I think consistent activity to groups of people that will refer us business. So who are those groups of people? Let's just start there. Who is it? Like, if I'm a new realtor, I'm like, who are these people that I'm going after? And I think it starts with new or a veteran realtor. It starts with influential people in our community that can refer us business. Okay, it's builders, it's it's human resources and businesses for relocations. It's the head of the Chamber of Commerce. It's the head of Parks and Rec. Whoever those people are that are in our network, that's where we start. That's a list of people we start. We gather the list, names, phone numbers, emails, and we build that list. For veteran realtors, it's a past client list. Okay, it's just those people that have gone through and experienced us. Okay, that's a huge piece. It's current clients. So if we have clients that we're working, those are people that we're going to actually have consistent activity with as well, and we'll talk about that here in a minute. Those are important pieces. Builders, I already mentioned. I want to separate those from VIPs or influential people, because that is a separate bucket for realtors, and depending on where folks live, is a real source of potential business if applicable. Those are the buckets. And then for us, the other bucket is the realtor bucket, folks, realtors in our market. So if you break them up you break up your list of people and you literally build lists, okay, CRM, if you have to do that. I started with just different spreadsheets of these different people. And I built names, phone numbers, email addresses. So I had my groups of people. So who are they for each of us that are on this call or listen to this podcast? And then what's the consistent activity that I do weekly to touch these people? Okay. And I do this every single week, and I track that I do it. Okay. So on Mondays, for us, the most influential people are realtors. For you guys, past clients, I would say, for realtors. So on Mondays, I call my top 40 realtors, and I try to bring some sort of value to you guys. Hey, this is a change in the loan program. Hey, here's an invitation to a lunch and learn. Hey, here's what's going on with rates. Some sort of value. So the people that are around us, Kevin, thinking through, how do I bring them value? How do I bring them value to where they would reciprocate that for me as well? For realtors, and then on Tuesdays, I just got done with this. And this is something every realtor can do. Every single Tuesday, I call every one of my transactions, all parties in the transaction, so both realtors and the borrower, and we give them an update on where we are on the file. What's the biggest thing that folks have problems with from a lending perspective?
Not knowing what's happening.
Communication, right?
100%.
So very simply, and honestly, probably a little bit from a realtor side too, your clients, your buyers, or the folks that you have there listed, they would probably say the same thing: lack of communication, lack of consistency, right?
Yeah.
So very simply, on Tuesdays, I block out a couple hours and I call all the parties and I update them and say, hey, here's your Tuesday update. I brand it Tuesday update, and here's what we're doing. Here's where we are on the file. Here's where the appraisal is, the title work is, and the file.
Can I will tell real quick?
Go.
So that's something you taught me. And so just for the agents listening, I think that has been one of the single biggest,
the biggest
in my business of like, what sets me apart in listing appointments is that I do a Tuesday update call, and it costs no money. And that's something you taught me and I've committed to. And every client relists with me if we don't sell. They always relist because they're so impressed. And I mean, it's just been such a game changer for my business. And so I just want to put like a exclamation point on what you're saying of like, it's simple and it's free and it's an absolute game changer.
Yeah, I think it's the goal. Like, I can look back and go, there's lots of things that have influenced my business that I've been blessed to experience, but what has it that's influenced it the most? And it's Tuesday update calls. There's no doubt about it in my mind. And so from a realtor perspective, my thought would be, like, for me, when I'm making the call to two realtors. One probably sent me the borrower, the other doesn't know who I am or is on the listing, and nobody calls the listing agent, right? Nobody calls the listing agent. So when I call them and I start doing that consistently, like, this guy's crazy. What this is unreal. And I'm like, hey, is your lender doing this with you? He should be. He should be updating your borrowers, is he not? And so for me, that's a prospecting call. So from a realtor perspective, I think we've got to think, how can we make that a prospecting call? The other piece of this, Kevin, I would say, is that current client that you're updating. I set the expectation at the beginning of the transaction, and I say, hey, if my promise is I'm going to close you on time. I'm going to close you with accuracy from a fee perspective. My fees aren't going to change. And I'm going to call you every single Tuesday. Okay. And if I do those things, will you do me a favor? If I'm taking great care, would that be taking great care of you? Yes, I'd be taking great care of me. If I'm taking great care of you, you're going to go through this process, and just because you're buying a house, you're going to see other friends that are going to be doing that. Can I ask you on Tuesdays if you've run into anyone that maybe we can help as well? So when you're making that Tuesday update call, make that a prospecting call. You're prospecting for more leads there, right? So that's a lead generation call. That's not just an operational update call. And when we make that mindset shift, that's when we'll start to see a lot of the gold too. Up till now, a lot of times, right, it's just been a great service that you've provided people, but turn it into a lead generation call. And then, hey, on Wednesdays, I call every shopper, everybody that we've qualified that's shopping for houses. We're calling to update them and stay close to them. Same thing for you. You know, if you've done a listing appointment with them, or if you've done a buyer consultation with them, how are you following up with them consistently? Because I promise you, they're getting called on by other realtors,
right,
and from my end, other lenders, right? So I've got to bring some value on a weekly basis to those people to make sure that they're staying close to me.
Mm-hmm.
Same thing with you, right?
Yep, 100%.
You've got it. You got. We have to stay close to that. So that's what we do on Wednesdays. On Thursdays, past clients. I call 30 past clients every Thursday. And here's Marjorie Adams, who's an amazing realtor in Charlottesville, Virginia, taught me this. Really not scripting / plan for past clients. It's 3 calls a year to all my past clients. 1 call is offering up any referral sources that they need from me. So checking on their house. Hey, do you need a landscaper? Hey, do you need a plumber? I've got those folks. I'll help you out. Number 2 is doing an annual review with them, trying around their anniversary time. Hey, listen, what'd you say?
I'm taking notes here.
Yeah. So it's very simple. It's a referral. It's offering your referral sources up. Call 1, call 2. You're doing an annual review. Hey, you've been in the house now for 2 years. What have you done to it? How's it feeling? Oh, y'all are having another baby. Are you going to be looking for something else soon? Just doing an annual review with them on their situation. And then number 3, you're asking for a lead. So I've got over 1,200 past clients. Okay. So if I called them 3 times a year and I got half of them to give me 1 lead, that's 600 leads. Okay. I need 1,300 for the year. That's only 50%. Give me 1. 600. And we convert at a 30% rate. That's 180 deals right there. If I did that all of the time, I do that pretty well, but I don't do it all of the time. How easy is that math? Right?
Yeah.
So some folks will just want to go buy those leads, won't we? Because we don't think that'll actually work, right?
Or we're afraid to ask for business, which I think is so silly. And I think what I want to emphasize with what you're saying is it's value, then ask. It's not just ask up front. And so I think it's really important.
Yeah, and I think it's setting the expectation too of like with the current client, like who asks current clients for referrals? Usually you want to get done with the transaction. So most won't ask after, right?
Right.
And if you ask after, you never ask during, right?
For sure.
I have a good friend, Brian Shudo in San Diego, a good acquaintance that we're in the same coaching program with, lender in San Diego, 80 current client leads a month ago. Dang. So of the leads that he generated in that month, 80 of them were from current clients. That is nuts. So here's the great thing. Those are warm leads. Those are people that believe in your service. Why would we not ask for that?
Right.
It's the easiest, lowest hanging fruit. And how expensive is that? Right? It's time.
Right. Yeah.
It's time.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then Fridays, man, VIPs. So I've got a list of top 50 VIPs. Those are just influential people in the community. Realtors should have the same list. And these are the people I kind of just described: Chamber of Commerce, like I said, builders in the market. Aside from that, attorneys, CPAs, all of those fields that can refer business, but you don't think of, they're not your number 1 type of source, but they absolutely are influential people that can send you business, right?
So let me ask, when you're calling someone like that, Chris, what is the approach for someone that could hopefully become like a referral source?
Great question. So I want to find something in their business they need help with. Okay. So for instance, my financial planner or a financial planner, it's important to them that they bring value to their clients. Part of that is looking at a person's financial status and seeing where they can speak into. So a mortgage is a vital piece of that person's financial plan. So if I can bring a service to bring great customer service for that financial planner's clients for when someone needs to refinance or purchase, and I know that I roll the red carpet out for them, all of a sudden financial planners or a financial planner will start, when they're looking at their client's stuff, they'll say, hey, your mortgage, you've got a 4.5 interest rate. Hey, let me get you over to my preferred lender that'll take care of you and could get you a lower rate and help bring more cash potentially to that financial planner, right? So it's figuring out how to bring value. This isn't one I pursue, but this has been unfortunately, this happens. Divorce. I have a friend that's a divorce attorney or a family attorney, and he's had situations where they've had to refinance mortgages and stuff. And so it's not something I market in any way.
Right.
But I am providing them a service when they have people going through tough circumstances from that perspective. Right. But Kevin, it's the thought, how do I bring value to them? Not give me a deal.
Right.
If it's give me a deal, won't happen. It's got to be how do I bring value? So I've got a list of 50. I call 15 a week, and I tell them why they're a VIP in my life, why they're important, and I ask them for help for something, and I try to give them something that'll help their business as well. I try to feed them something.
That's good.
Okay. That's the weekly activity that I do. And it feels simplistic, but if I did that every week and I spent a lot of my time doing those things, it's been the thing. I pulled up my numbers when I started doing this consistently, Kevin. My leads were at about 325 for the year. And last year I finished at 1135 on leads. So last year I finished at 1171 on leads. So I am literally at about 98 leads a month on average. Wow. But I started it and it was only 325 leads for the year.
Right.
That's the growth that the weekly consistency has provided.
So good. And I want to emphasize some things that you're saying without saying. One is like, you can't succeed in this business without making phone calls and talking to people. And so I think the paradigm we have to have is, do I want to be chasing a lead that came through the internet and probably won't answer my call? 9 times out of 10. Or do I want to be having, building relationships and having conversations with friends, past clients, business partners, things like that. And so I think that was the mental, like the shift for me a couple of years ago is like, oh, if I want to succeed at a high level, I'm going to be talking to a lot of people either way. And which is going to bear better long-term fruit. And it's what you're talking about. It's like you're digging a well with every call that you make, or you're sowing a seed, whatever metaphor you want to use. And it's going to bear fruit for years to come, as opposed to, oh, I got a Zillow lead, they bought a house, great. Or I've called them 100 times, they've never answered once, so.
There's no doubt about it. And to me, it's just a numbers game. The numbers game is this: do you want to convert at 3% or 30%? Do you want to pay $5,000 a month or nothing a month? I mean, it's simple math, and it really is. But I think it's the harder thing, Kevin, because if you give me a list of cold calls to make, I make them, and they're not great, whatever. I hang up the phone and I go home and I don't worry about it. Right. But when you have to like strategically think through, how do I help people, bring value to them, serve them, and be consistent with that, I think that's harder to do. Right? Yeah. From an activity perspective, I'll finish with this piece. These are a few things that I do aside from weekly calls, okay, that I think could be helpful. Number one, I write 20 thank you cards a week, okay? Nobody writes thank you cards anymore. They text, they email, they do things that just don't mean as much. So I write 20 thank you cards every week. I send 1,000 videos out a week. So I have different group. Now that's not individual videos. I'll film one video and I'll send it to 1,000 people, and I have different groups I send it to. I have realtors, past clients, what I just went over. But I try to bring value in that video. 2 past client events a year we've got scheduled for this year. So I'm going to rent a movie theater out in July for my past clients, and I'm going to host them that. And then I'm going to have Santa at my office with a photo booth for them to bring their kids up in the Christmas. So I'm going to interact with my past clients, and I want to do that on a basis. The last thing is, and I know you do this, is I mail to my database once a month. So 1 month I send them an evidence of success. The second month I send them a letter of the heart. And that's just a letter that just kind of goes deeper with who I am and what's going on with me and my family and something I'm learning to try to build a deeper relationship and really just be more vulnerable with these folks. Mm-hmm. So those are, again, simple activities that I do on top of the weekly calls that kind of complement the calls.
Mm-hmm. It's so good. What you just shared truly is a blueprint to a multiple 6-figure income. I know, like you said, it can be hard to believe, but I broke into the multiple 6 figures with largely following the blueprint you just laid out. So I think it's really powerful. And then, like you said, you're not worried that some lead vendor is going to change their policy and overnight you have no business, right?
Turn the tap off, charge you more, whatever it may be. You've got control of your lead generation, which is truly owning a book of business in my mind.
Right. 100%.
I think the question that I asked myself, and I'll ask you, is why do you think we start activities like these but stop them? Like, what would keep us from doing things like this consistently?
You want me to answer?
Yeah.
What comes to mind for me is, one, they're boring.
Yes.
It's incredibly boring to sit in your office for a couple hours every day and make phone calls.
Yeah.
And I think sometimes we don't always see the immediate fruit from it. So those are the things that come to my mind.
Yeah. Yeah, and I would agree. And one I threw in there with those, and I think you're right. And probably my biggest mentor in the mortgage industry said, "Hey, our goal is to lead the most boring life." And he's right on. He's like, I want us up in the morning working out, spending time doing a little bit of reading in the Word, time with our family, out the door, work from this time to this time. And in this growth, I've averaged 45 hours a week. I'm not working 60, 70 hours a week with this growth. And it's so that we can, because we're boring, because we do those consistent things. And I'll say one of those things I think stops us is, you're right in that it doesn't come fast enough. And we don't just keep going. The other piece is, I think sometimes it comes too fast, or there's too much and we don't know what to do with it. And I do think that's where, Kevin, it's the exercise of building out a team and support system around us to do the $15 an hour stuff that we can train and pay someone to do, so that I can generate leads, which is our number one job. Our job is not the transactional part of it. Okay. It's our number one job is to generate leads, and we forget that. We get deals that come in and we get going in the deals, and we forget the consistent activity, and we wonder why our business does this. Okay. So I think the exercise that I love coaching people on, and I love walking people through, is that do all you can, fight as hard as you can to not stop the consistent activity. But when the fruit comes, hire and build team around you to do those things that you can take off your plate, so you can keep doing the activity. And that is how you grow a business.
So good.
The funny thing is I can think of so many guys in front of me, men and women in front of me in my business, that do the same activity as I do, they just leverage their time better and they leverage their team better. So they do the same stuff I do. They just have 15 people under them instead of 9 people like I have doing the work, and they're still just bringing the deals in just like I am, but they're bringing more and they're feeding it to their team. So
because you know what I would add on to that, Chris, is what's not boring is 20, 30, 40, 50K months consistently.
Yeah.
And that's so doable in our industry. It's crazy that we work in an industry where you can create months like that without working 1 million hours a week.
You know,
so
I mean, that's the blessing where I'm like, Lord, this is you, because I can't believe I work in an industry where literally I can get up in the morning and how hard I work changes my income. And there's so many people in our country that blessed to have a job, but their effort doesn't change their pay. And man, that's a really cool thing. And so take it for what it is, take the blessing that it is, don't take advantage of it. I think so many times people get in because they want the flexibility. Well, that can be a terrible thing. The flexibility can be a terrible thing, but I can't believe that I'm, income wise now make monthly what I used to make yearly in a job that I thought it was a dream job. That's amazing to me. And it's, it's not me, it's my team, it's the Lord, it's all that. But I think that's pretty amazing. I'll say this, Kevin. The other key to generating warm leads like that, 100 of them a month, is becoming a master of our clock and becoming someone who is so efficient with our time. And that is an evolution. That is a process that just takes time learning and watching someone in front of us who does it well. But learning to be someone who puts the right activity on our calendar. Okay, so we have to put our big rocks on the calendar first, right? Non-negotiables.
Right.
Time with the Lord, workout, prospecting time, whatever those big rocks are, we put that on, and then we fill the rest in with the small rocks. And then once we've built that calendar, man, it's not a suggestion. It's an integrity issue if I don't do it. And I heard one of my mentors say that this year, Nikki Salter, and she said, hey, it's an integrity issue if you don't fulfill your calendar. It's an integrity issue with your team. Your team is watching you. Wow. And I was like, okay, well, now my calendar is close to gospel, man. I'm so committed to doing all I can to do it on a daily basis and fighting to accomplish the big rocks consistently. Anyway, so.
That's so good, man. What you have shared, there's literally 6 and 7 figure gold in what you just shared. So I want to emphasize that and just thank you for drawing on your experience. I want to ask you one last question before we wrap up here. This is one of my favorite questions to ask people. And I think, while we work in an incredible industry, we also work in a very emotional and hard industry. I was sharing with you before our call. I just had a huge deal of love in my face. So if you could go back and give yourself one piece of advice as a new lender, what would that be? With all the experience you have now, the ups and the downs, what would be that one piece of advice? I know I'm putting you on the spot. I didn't prep you for this question, but I'd love to know what that would be.
Yeah, I think the gold for me has been being coached and mentored. And it's been the last 9 years of my career. And I knew, what's funny is I knew I wanted it year 2 in the industry, but I didn't know it was there. And I knew I wanted something bigger. So for me, being involved in the core training, which is the coaching program I'm involved with, being mentored by people who are in front of me, who open their business to me for me to look in and glean from and copy. I mean, I wish that would have started year 2. I think that would have been even the bigger game changer. Now, listen, I'm so blessed to have found this when I did, because there's plenty of people that I'm involved with in this that were like, you know, are much older, and they're like, man, I wish I would have found this when I was younger. But grabbing onto a Kevin Scoggin and going, Kevin, I'll pay you, coach me, man, like show me how to do this. And then the last thing I would say, so being coached, being mentored, the last thing I would say is surrendering to that person and doing what they say. So I think those are the keys. And for me, they have been. And I'm not super smart, but I can copy someone, and I can see who to copy, and to build my business after. So
good. So good. I appreciate you sharing. I appreciate your time. You don't just originate loans in Oklahoma, right? Am I correct? What other states? Is it like a huge list? Is it?
Yeah. So my main focus is Metro Oklahoma City, but Gateway Mortgage, who I work for, is in 43 states. Okay. And so I can lend out, you know, I can lend on 4 out of every 5. So most states we could originate in if we need to. Okay. And we really do that. And I don't market it in those places, Kevin. That's more of like, hey, you have a seller that's in Oklahoma, that's down the street, that wants to come to my office, that's moving to North Carolina. What we can help them do that.
Okay. So. Well, I just want to emphasize, and Chris did not ask me to do this. This is truly, if you're a realtor watching, listening, and need a great lender, I've worked with a lot of lenders in 4.5 years, and I don't think anyone does it better than Chris and his team. So we'll put a link in the show notes and below the video to where you guys can get connected with Chris and his team. But Chris, again, thank you so much for your time. It's been a blessing.
Thanks, Kevin. Appreciate it.
All right, guys. Well, hey, I hope that conversation was eye-opening to you. I believe that if you put into practice what Chris talked about, it will be an absolute game changer for your business. I know it has been for mine. For more information, resources, and to learn how to partner with me, head on over to kevinscoggin.com.